Hey guys, it's Coke from MathChallenge. My mission for this channel is for US math scores to be #1 in the world. Currently we are at 26, so we've got a lot of opportunity ahead. Now in today's video, I wanted to set aside doing math problems and talk about my personal journey on how I went from scrubbing toilets to earning $100,000 income. Let's go! Now, $100,000 seems like a lot, and it is to me, but it's definitely different from what it used to get you 20 years ago compared to today's market. I remember talking about it with a college friend of mine back in the day, and I was like, how much do you want to make once we graduate? And very clearly, said 6 figures is the benchmark. And I was like, wow, that seems like such an unattainable number at the time. And here we are, fast forward 20 years later. Now, I don't mean to brag in any way, shape, or form. I am not successful whatsoever. What this video is meant to do, though, is to kick myself in the pants for all the mistakes I've done the last 6 years. Okay, guys, let's go! Now, just to preface the title a little bit, my degree is in teaching high school math, and back in 2016, I worked at a private school in LA teaching one-on-one to students. There, I started to notice a knowledge gap with the students that I was teaching. And mind you not, there's knowledge gaps with any students in any grade level that you're teaching, but I felt like high school students either already love math or they hated it. And therefore, I felt like if I could impact students at a much younger age, more kids could fall under this category of loving math. So looking back, 2016 was sort of this mixed year for me. First of all, I did not look like the pork chop that I am today. Here's a picture of me. I played a lot of tennis. I was actually ranked second in Southern California for the men's division, which I'm really, really proud of, but I know it's a small accomplishment. I also met my current wife that year. And then professionally, the school that I was working for was starting to open up a new campus in the Chicagoland area. And my family being from Chicago, it was such a great opportunity for me to not only step up in my career, but also be with my family. So I decided to take it. It just gave me this boost of energy and confidence that it was time for me to move back to Chicago. So 2017 rolls around and I'm getting super excited for this opportunity. I'm doing like jumping jacks and just trying to pump myself up. And my previous bosses from the LA campus were like, hey, Coke, you're going to have bosses at your new campus, but you're the brand expert. You've been at the school the longest. So, make sure you take what was working in our campus and implement over in the Chicagoland area. So I had this strong vision of how I wanted the school to be, and I met with the head of school and then other staff members. Oh, just a little quick thing is that the campus wasn't actually built at the time. So we were getting ready to launch it, but the construction wasn't ready yet. So it was like 3 months out until the actual physical building was ready for students to come in. So we were working out of this rented cubicle, like 3 or 4 of us in this, tiny little space, and we had these meetings and stuff. And just as we gradually had meetings and I was trying to kind of implement my opinions about how I felt like the school should go in the direction, I felt like I wasn't getting heard by the head of school or just sort of with the team that I had. So as the days went on, I felt like my voice was getting like smaller and then my head, I started to have this sort of stress starting to build within myself and feeling like I wasn't an adequate part of the team. So as the stress was building inside my mind for several weeks, I had a girlfriend at the time and I had parents that I was living with that I could really go to for support. But instead, I chose to bottle it up inside, which was the wrong thing to do looking back. And I decided to take the easy way out, and I called the regional manager there, and I was like, ding, hey, this isn't working out for me. I'm not gonna come in anymore. And obviously she was, really surprised. She thought everything was going well. She didn't see any signs of it. So it took everybody in the organization by surprise and my family. And I remember just once I did that, just feeling a sigh of relief because I felt all the tension of like the stress being relieved. but I was also gutted inside because I felt like I really let myself down, my family down, and the managers from the LA campus that really believed in me. And so there were several weeks where I just, couldn't look up. I was going for walks, but my head was down, and it was really a low point in my career, looking back at the time. And I had the idea of the elementary math coach in my mind, but it took me a while to get my wheels going and start thinking about the project ahead. So basically, I went from being a high school math teacher to being given this opportunity as a math coach for a K through 12 school. And when I decided I wanted to be involved in early education teaching younger kids, I knew I didn't want to go back to school and get that specific degree just because I knew my passion was in math and I didn't really want to teach any other subjects. Plus, I wasted 4 years of my parents' money getting a bachelor's degree in marketing. So I knew I had to spend $0, but to get to where I want to be. So this video is really about that and my journey the last 6 years to get to the career that I want to get. And just a really quick quote I want to share with you is that luck is preparation meets opportunity. And again, I just really think that this wouldn't have happened if I didn't believe in myself and really take the steps that I did in starting my YouTube channel or make the connections that I did. So as soon as I knew I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, I knew I needed time to develop these products and ideas I had in mind, but I also needed capital to fund those ideas. So that's when I went on Indeed and did a little search for a part-time job, and a facilities associate position came up for a local library. So that involved like cleaning bathrooms. So that's how I got my start in that, with scrubbing toilets and picking up trash and maintaining the entire aspect of the library. I felt like I needed this position because I needed to be humble again, learn humility, and just be grateful for what I have, and really shift my focus when I'm away from the library to what it is that I really wanted to do. So again, I took this opportunity, being grateful for it, and my manager turned out to be such a wonderful person. I keep in touch with him to this day, so shout out to him. And here's a funny story of a thing that happened there. So my office was located at the basement of the library, and I heard this like loud like thud, like something dropped, upstairs. So I quickly go up to check it, and then you don't really know where it's coming from. I think it was actually like after the library closed or something. So like it was dark. I had to turn the lights on. It's kind of scary being in like a dark library. But anyways, it turned out that the door hinge in the men's bathroom, it was one of the big ones for like, number two side. That whole door had come off the hinge. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I tried to pick it up, and the thing is like really, really heavy. So I was like, wow. I was able to pick it up, but then I was like, how am I supposed to put this on by myself? And so I called my boss up and I was like, hey, what do I do? You know? And then he's like, well, that's easy. You just pick it up and screw it back on. So I forgot how I was able to put the door back on. I don't remember if somebody was still there at the library because my boss had left. But anyways, I was finally able to like get it on. I think I used like my shoulder or something to latch it and then like screw it or something. But it was just like this crazy episode that happened. So when I decided I wanted to pursue this entrepreneurship journey, I knew that I wanted to maximize my strength. And one of the quotes I found on a friend's Facebook page, it's really inspirational, is that life's purpose is to find your gift. and the meaning is to give it away. And so I wouldn't call myself being able to teach math a gift. I certainly like it and I'm okay with it, but I really ask myself what sets apart me from all the great math teachers that are out there. And then being Japanese American and attending schools in both Japan and the United States, I knew that the standards in Japan were much higher than the US. So that's when I really decided that I wanted to take what was working in the Japanese market and then bring it over to the US. So before my channel Math Challenge was born, that's the core of what you see today. I decided to make a resource binder for teachers. So here's this ugly looking binder right here that's pretty big. But basically what this binder is compiled of is all the different differences between Japanese practices and the US standards. If I could sum it up in one quick way, I felt like the American textbooks just utilized a few examples, and then if students were able to copy the methods given by the instructed by the teacher, that it would be considered mastery of the concept. As opposed to a Japanese textbook, let me show you. This is what a Japanese textbook looks like. It's pretty thin, but there's a lot of content in there in that the math is really exploratory. So behind each concept, students really discuss about 3 or 4 different ways to think about a certain problem. So again, here's the American textbook right here, and here's the Japanese one. If you compare the thickness, it's pretty different. There's a lot more content in the American textbook, but I do feel like it's a little bit more broad. So once I made my first prototype for my binder, I needed to find a way to market it and get it to the hands of all the teachers. And that's when I found this ad for a national math conference that was happening in downtown Chicago. So I decided to book a booth to sell my product. And that was like a 3-day event. And it was about $1,500 to rent out the booth. So I borrowed that from my sister. And then I spent the next few months packing binders. And I think I made about 18 to 20 or so binders. And along with the binders, I wanted to make a banner that would stand out. So I created this banner out of the logo that I made, and then I made all these brochures for the event. And I think roughly with the binder cost and everything, it was a total of about $3,000. Now, when it came to pricing for my binder, I just want to reference my favorite show, Shark Tank. You notice that a lot of contestants, especially in the earlier seasons, would have a really great product, but their price point was a little bit higher than what the average American can afford. But I could really relate to that as this sort of beginner entrepreneur, because when I was first starting out, I was sourcing everything from Amazon, and you're not really getting any of the materials at cost there, even though it's you think it's low price. Once I completed making my binder, I figured out that I would need to price my binder at about $60 or $65 just to even make a $5 profit. So, anyways, that was the cost of the binder, which is pretty ridiculous. What teacher is going to pay $65 for my ugly looking binder? But anyways, I was really excited about it, so I still continued to make them, and then I brought them to the event. Now, the day of the event rolled around. There was a lot of buzz and excitement around my booth. I put all these challenge problems that I do on my current YouTube channel, and a lot of teachers were coming up and trying out the problems, and I got really great feedback. Now, first day of binder sales, 0. Now the second day rolls around. Again, I'm still excited. I'm doing all these jumping jacks. I'm doing all the challenge problems, and then teachers are giving me the answers. So there's a lot of talk and excitement. Second day binder sales, 0. So the third day rolls around. I'm still doing jumping jack, getting like really loud. Hey, let's go! Third day binder sales, 0. Okay, so I learned a really great lesson here that I think I spent about $5,000 total, $3,000 in materials, and then $2,000 almost for the booth. That I really didn't have a product here. So again, I was really excited and confident about it, but my greatest fault was that I didn't get any feedback. I didn't ask teachers. I thought I made this great product and thought that I could help a lot of people out. But looking back at my mistakes, this is what I would do differently. First of all, I wouldn't attend this conference. Instead of paying $1,500 for a booth, I would have reached out to my teacher friends or the network I have from Facebook, and then I would have given out free samples to the teachers of what I thought would help them out and ask for their feedback. So instead of making all this product and thinking that I'm doing such an amazing thing, being able to help somebody, I think the first lesson, a very valuable one that I learned, is that you have to make your first dollar with spending $0. And that's why I called it the $5,000 mistake. So towards the end of 2017, I was having brunch with my friend. I was telling her about the lessons that I learned from the conference, and that I wasn't giving up, but I was still planning on starting something small in Illinois and see where it takes me. And in that moment, she was like, "Well, wait a minute, don't you have plans on moving back to California?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, then why are you getting started in Illinois? Even if you start something here, you're gonna have to start all over again when you get back to California." So I was like, "Doi, what are you doing?" So I'm always quick to act on instinct. And so right when I got home that day, I just told my mom, "Hey mom, I had brunch with my friend. I think I'm gonna move back to California in the next week or so." My mom was like, "What? Are you crazy?" But in my heart was already moving towards California, and so I packed up my bags and I was ready for my road trip number 2. So my heart was all set for California again, and I made this epic road trip map that I would stop by all these national parks in Utah. So I think I stopped by like Arches, Bryce, Canyonlands, and I think I did Horseshoe Bend. So here's a photo right here of me on my road trip. But anyways, once I got to California, my plan was to stay with my friend a little bit until like my business took off. Anyways, so I got to my friends in California and I started making all these phone calls and emails to schools, emailing administrators, teachers, and everybody that I just found on the Google search or through the district websites to see if I would get any kind of response. A lot of months passed by and I got 0 responses. So I was like, okay, rejections are a part of it. That's okay. I haven't gotten any responses. No worries. And anyways, this ad came along again to me for a math conference. This was for the state of California, not a national one, but it was happening in Palm Springs out in the desert. So instead of booking a booth this time, I knew I wanted to be this math coach and speaker to everybody. So I decided to apply to be a speaker in one of the meeting times. So again, for this one, unless you're like a keynote speaker that's invited to speak at the event, you're actually paying to be a speaker or advertising your own thoughts. So I think that was around the same price as the booth. So I think it was around $1,500. Anyways, I get really excited about making this perfect presentation. And then my time slot was allotted next to one of the biggest math influencers we have, Dan Meyer. And I remember as my meeting time or speaking time got closer, I got nervous. But I heard a lot of footsteps going towards the main auditorium. So all these footsteps were going towards Dan Meyer in the main auditorium. But I was like, you know what? That's okay. My room is smaller, but it's going to fill about 20 or 30 people. I have confidence in myself. So anyways, the time keeps getting closer and closer to my speaking time. And guess how many people showed up in my room? 2. Okay, so you might be thinking, hey, Coke, better than 0, right? Well, one person ended up walking away as soon as I started my presentation. I guess she didn't really like what I was saying. And then I think the other guy just stayed for my pity because he knew how sad I looked. So here I am again. I feel like I made the same mistake, my second $1,500 mistake. So Palm Springs to me is almost like this bittersweet place, which seems really fun, but has also been challenging. Years ago, I went there for a big, really big tennis tournament. It was like a team competition, and I lost my match, which ended up losing it for the team. And I remember like really crying and really being sad with emotion driving back out to Orange County. I think was like crying a lot for like a couple hours in the car just because I felt like I let the team down. And then again at this math conference, I had a lot of expectations for myself. But again, I remember crying back and just thinking back to that tennis match that I lost, that I felt like, man, I'm really not getting anywhere with this. I felt like I have this like great idea that I want to share to people. I'm just not breaking through in any way. So I felt like 2018 was sort of this repeat down year from 2017 in regards to, getting my first customer and making that first dollar. I felt like I was overstaying my welcome at my friend's house, so I decided to move and rent a room at another place. And I just really didn't fit in there as well. And I really felt alone. And I had all these internal struggles where I felt like I had this great idea, but then I wasn't getting any replies or phone calls and being able to sort of communicate those thoughts. So I decided to seek outside help, and an organization I came across to was called the SBA, or the Small Business Administration, and they offer free advice and free consulting, coaching to small businesses that are starting out. And me, obviously, I have $0 in revenue. But they were really nice and talked to me, and they're not in the education field, but they took time out to listen to me and give me some advice. So I took, 2 or 3 sessions from them, but I didn't really get a clear direction or on how or, where I could start to get my first customer. One day I was sitting at the parking lot of the SBA office, and really wasn't sure where this would take me, but a thought, went over my head. I kept wanting to like coach teachers or be a resource for teachers, but I excluded like the end benefit of it. And the end benefit of my product is ultimately the students, and that's the part where I felt like I was neglecting. And then I needed to show proof of concept that my product would actually benefit the students. So I decided that instead of like sort of focusing my attention on the teachers, that I would try my product and my ideas on the students first. So that's when I decided to contact a local library and see if they would be interested in hosting a math challenge class for me for grades 1 through 6. So 2018 was another down year for me, similar to 2017. So I was really determined to make 2019 better. I decided to, find a job at a grocery store in Huntington Beach. So I started that full time because I felt like my business was really, starting at such a slow pace. So in 2019, I moved to a studio apartment in Long Beach, and I really felt like I got a fresh start there. So, anyways, after this concept of trying to start Math Challenge off with proving myself to younger students, I decided to reach out to that local library. And then I'm so thankful for the first librarians that gave me this chance. Even though it was a free class and I didn't make any money, they still believed in me and gave me that opportunity to hold that session. So the first session of Math Challenge was going to be in April, and that's the same time that my wife came to America for the first time. So she wasn't my wife at the time, but so she was gonna, be my fiance and soon to be wife. So I felt like things were starting to turn around for me. I found my own place. I felt a little bit more comfortable, and I felt like there was something in the air. So a week after she came was the first math challenge class, and then again I was nervous driving there. She could tell that I had all this like nervous energy in me, but I still had hope and excitement. And I got there, I set up, an hour before the event happened. It was like this small room right here. Here's the picture right here. But anyways, as the time got closer and closer to the event, kids started showing up. So even like 5 minutes into the event, kids started coming in. And then it was this small room, but I think there was about 15 kids and parents. And it was the first time I felt this sort of relief and joy that people actually cared and came to my event. So I remember on the car ride home, I actually started tearing up. And this time it was tears of joy instead of like tears of sadness and like this anguish and, all this pain that I felt before of not being able to, help people out or, make any sort of impact. And my wife was genuinely happy for me, and I just felt really excited and just really thankful again for the opportunity. And that was the first time that Math Challenge ever got started on a physical space before you see the YouTube channel today. So after 3 to 4 sessions of Math Challenge in the same room, the attendance kept growing and growing. And around the fourth or fifth session, the librarian was like, "Hey, Coke, your program is so popular. We want to move you out from the small room to the main children's section." And man, I was so joyed and super grateful for that opportunity. I asked the librarian, "Hey, is this something that you guys would be able to pay me for?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we love your program. We want you to stay for around for a long time." And so they booked me out for the entirety of 2019. So things were looking up. So the beginning of 2020 rolled around. My program was buzzing, gaining momentum and excitement. And a lot of families that saw me doing the classes were contacting me for their kids to do some private tutoring with me. And mom groups are really strong. At one point, there was about 4 or 5 kids that came up to me just from a connection I made with one parent. And then, so I was teaching like 4 to 5 kids a week, doing the math challenge classes on the weekends, and also working full time at the grocery store. So I was super grateful for all the opportunities that came to me. I felt like it wouldn't have come if I didn't fail those last 2 years and really learn and continue to grow from them. But anyways, there was one particular parent that worked at, there was a school down the street from the library, and she was a strong volunteer and advocate for their school. And she told me about an after school program that my program would be a perfect fit for. So anyways, she got me in touch with the nonprofit organization. It's called IPSF. And from there, I was able to be a contractor for the after school enrichment program. So my heart was just pumping up with joy that I felt like I was continuing to be able to make an impact for more and more students, and now being able to partner with a school district and a nonprofit organization was really exciting for me. So January, February, March is when I went in person, and I was driving to school and doing these after school programs with the help of my wife. And then obviously, what happened in March 2020. The world shut down, and bam, I was not sure what to do after that. So, anyways, COVID shut down the rest of my contract for that spring term and that summer, but they still had hopes and were optimistic about me offering these online courses starting in the fall. And that's exactly what happened. Is schools were still shut down and every learning was happening online. That in the fall I was able to do the digital pivot, and then through my online math challenge classes, there was a full sign up of about 12 to 15 kids each session. So even though I wasn't going into school and working with kids one on one, I still felt like I was being able to help the community in that way. So all the side hustles that I was able to start and develop basically carried me on from 2020 all the way through 2021. I'm still working full time at the grocery store. My math challenge class got canceled at the library, but I was able to do the digital pivot with the nonprofit organization, and I'm still tutoring students online. Now, towards the end of 2021, though, I felt like I wanted to impact not just kids individually or in the classroom, but I wanted to reach out to more students and then getting back to the core of helping out more teachers. So that's when I finally took the decision to start my YouTube channel, Math Challenge. So September 2021 was when I first started my YouTube channel, but 3 months prior to that was when I welcomed my first son into this world, and that's when it really gave me a fresh perspective and motivation for me to be a strong example for my son. So ever since then, I've been focused on YouTube for the last few years, also making a website and updating it to make content and making all these printouts that viewers can download, and basically that's taken me all the way up to 2023. So 2023 rolls around, I'm still grinding on YouTube and my side hustles are going, but I came to this realization that it's really hard to get my side hustles to get from a side to a full-time income status. So that's when I thought about being away from the classroom, at least full-time for the last 5, 6 years or so, and I decided to take a leap back in the classroom. So this generous school in LA, which is a K through 12 private school, offered me this great, amazing position to be a math specialist for their math program, and I decided to take that opportunity. So along with the salary that they're offering me, and then I'm still going to stay on part-time on as a grocery store, and with the side hustles that I have been doing, I have been able to generate this $100,000 income for myself before taxes. Know what you're thinking. Well, Coke, if you have a full-time job and another part-time job working 6 days a week like a slave, shouldn't it be obvious that you're making six-figure income? And yes, that's exactly my point. But in addition to the $100,000 income, I have confidence that if I grow my YouTube channel the right way, that I can easily make a lot of money in the future, including ad revenue and sponsorship deals. Now, again, I haven't reached that level, so I don't know what it's like and can't speak on it. But just taking aside from the money that you can generate through YouTube, for me, the value comes in helping more people and being able to reach out to different parts of people around the globe and say that I truly made an impact in their lives. Now, I only see money as a result of the work that I put in. And if you think the printouts I have on bridgemath.com are helpful to you or any of your students, please feel free to directly email me. I will be more than happy to send them to you for free. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye-bye.